Surface. Alright, let's get started. Hello. We got the mics working. Alright, looks like everything is working. I had issues last week, but thanks for coming and checking out my Tuesday afternoon stream. It's the week of Microsoft builds. I've been really excited with all the content that they've been delivering there, and wanted to get some work done on DotNetNuke because this has also been DotNetNuke week for me. There's a lot of changes that I've been working on for Razor pages, for .NET Core support as part of a migration path as the technology group moves towards sustaining the platform as Microsoft changes stuff with .NET Framework. And one of the big things that was announced the other day was .NET 5 and how that affects the platform. And there's a lot of news going on right now, so don't want to get too caught up in all the announcements and more on the stuff that I wanted to work on. So let me go and share my desktop. Let's see. Alright, and I need to change my resolution because I forget to do that every single time. So let me fix that, and we will get started with looking at some things. What is it? Should be this one. 1152, yeah. Keep those changes. Make that a little bit smaller. Everything looks weird for a minute. One of these weeks, I'm going to remember to do this before. Alright, well now everyone can see my entire screen. That's good. Alright, so if we head over to GitHub, the other day, I was working on a Razor page change, and we started going down a pretty crazy rabbit hole of problems. And so I ended up doing this other pull request. It's one of the things, and we got this merged in. And one of the big things with this pull request was a lot of our .NET projects were kind of all over the place with whether they were using the latest version of C#, whether they're using 7.x or 6.x. So this was a pull request I did the other day to kind of normalize some of those problems, because I was even seeing it in my stream the other day, where I tried to build something and I was getting weird errors like, oh, why am I in C#6? It's 2019. We should be on at least C# 7.0. So this was a good pull request to get in. And then the other stuff that we were looking at when we were doing some Razor pages work was how could we update the module pipeline so we didn't have to do reflection anymore. And that's what I want to do today. So I ended up creating this issue here. And I'm going to drop that into the chat for anyone. And basically, if you look at the DotNetNuke project structure, we have this giant core library called DotNetNuke.library, and it holds everything in it. And the library ends up having these circular dependencies with the different module platforms. So if we go and do I have the solution open? No, I don't. If we open up the solution real quick, this is in a branch that we're probably going to get rid of, but show it to you anyways. We have these different, we have this library project, we have this web.mvc, this web.razor project. So these two projects here are the different module patterns, and then inside the library here, there's this class called the module control factor, which I have loaded up. And so there's our web forms module and an HTML5 module. When we started creating these other module patterns like MVC and web.razor, we started using reflection, and this code gets called on every single module that's on your page. So if you're working on a DNN site and you got, let's say, 100 different modules on page, because they're all really tiny, lightweight modules, you're calling this reflection call 100 times, and that starts decreasing your performance significantly. and it doesn't get cached or anything. But if you're doing like a web forms module or an HTML5 module, you don't run into any of those problems. So, uh, you know, as we build out some of the new technology, we don't want to make it susceptible to performance problems because we want people to be using the new technology. Hello, R2. Thanks for coming to the stream. So right now I'm working on Razor Pages modules for DNN. We're saying that's our migration path from the .NET Framework version, which is now, to a .NET Core version, which is, I don't know if it's going to be an 11x or 12x, but whatever that future version is. And as I build out the Razor Pages module, I want people to be able to use it. I don't want performance to be a barrier that people say, "Oh, I really don't want to do it." So this is really, really important work. So we got the issue over here that talks about the circular dependencies inside of the .NetNuke library project. And so I started thinking about this and like, okay, well, let's go and just move all of our contracts over to some shared project. And I had some conversations with my friend Mitch about it. And we said, okay, well, here are, where was I? Here are the main interfaces and classes that are used. Some are from system.web and web forms. Some are .NET library. So if we move these over to a third project, we could have .NET library reference, and we got a little explanation down here. So we could have .NET library reference contracts. We have .NET library reference MVC, and MVC can reference contracts. So that contracts project will kind of be the bridge between the two assemblies. And this is how you fix, circular dependency problems, is you create a third project that contains the shared elements, and then both the other two projects reference that. The problem I ran into was, to create this contracts project, I needed to pull over the I module control factory, which is what each one of these things implement. So if we look at this web forms guy here, this implements I module control factory, and module info is a .NET entity. And when I needed to pull this in, and this entity turned into this laundry list of problems that I needed to pull into this contracts project. I'm going to share this branch that I created in the chat in a second. Let me. So I probably spent the better part of 3 to 4 hours trying to get this working, and I just kept pulling in more and more and more stuff. And as I pulled in more and more stuff, it just kept getting worse and worse. So what was the name of the branch? It's contracts, right? Yeah, so I created this contracts library branch, which let me drop in the chat. And if I'll open up that branch quickly to show you kind of what happened. So let me check that branch out. It's probably gonna reload. So what I tried doing was I tried just interfacing everything. Everything could be an interface. Why not? And that's usually the way to solve a problem like that. And then back in the library project, I said, well, implement these interfaces. And if we open up this contracts project, originally I just wanted to pull over really this interface here. And oops, let's make sure we're targeting .NET 4.7.2. But then I had to pull in all of these entities, and these are all these interfaces and these security objects as well, and it just started turning into this massive problem. And then over on the .NET library code, I had to start rewriting everything to get it to work with this new contracts library. And I was like, this is something I can't ship in the next minor version of DNN. It's going to be too much of a breaking change. I had to go back to the drawing board, and that's what we're doing today. So I did some prototyping earlier today. And I have a really good idea of how we're going to be able to accomplish this, but I haven't tested it. So I just updated the issue on, excuse me. So I just updated the issue on GitHub. We scroll down a little bit. So now, instead of creating a contracts project, transfer over to the there. Now, instead of creating a contracts project, I'm going to create a module pipeline project, and that's going to be containing our actual pipeline code. So where I showed you the different modules and that switch statement and going back and forth, we're going to use that as our third project to contain the shared code. In our case, instead of contracts, it's going to be that module pipeline, and then the module pipeline can consume the MVC project, the Razor project, and eventually the Razor Pages project, and everything should just work. The stuff with the entities that I was talking about, we need to create separate projects in the future for that, but that's another thing that I'll end up streaming about when it's time to do that. I just kind of documented it on GitHub. So let's go and take a look. All right, so now that I've talked for way too long about this, let's go and create some branches. And I'm doing stuff that might be a little weird on with my Git commands because I'm trying to get everything to run locally following the DNN build system, which is kind of complicated to use, I've learned. So let me just go to the development branch and make sure I get the latest. Let's make my shell a little bit bigger. Make that font size like 20. That way people in the back can see. Yeah, right. So we'll just do git pull orange in development. And speaking of Microsoft Build, they released, or not released, but they announced Windows Terminal, which I'm really excited about. Got some really cool things that they announced, so I won't need to use PowerShell anymore. I can use Windows Terminal, but that's not about this. So let's create a new branch. I'm going to call it module pipeline. Not pipeline. And I'm just going to pop those local changes. The reason why I stashed all that stuff is the website project is stored in source control, and since I'm running the website locally, there's, well, as you just saw, a lot of changes there. How long have you been involved with DNN, and what got you into it? Yeah, so I've been involved with DNN for a couple years now. I still say I'm a newbie. It was probably, what was it, last year, 2008, February 2018 was my first DNN summit. So middle 2017, I got involved with it, and then I started submitting pull requests for it. And after the February of 2018, I got involved with the technology advisory groups to help out with some of the development as the acquisition of DNN. They really have transferred ownership of the project to the open source community. Yeah, Windows Terminal, I'm really, really excited for. If you go to the GitHub repo for it, you can build it and run it locally. And they had like a little drop down up at the top of your terminal screen where you could select different, whether you want to be in PowerShell or DOS or Ubuntu or whatever you want it to be in. And the big thing was the screen is no longer being processed by the CPU; it's being processed by the GPU now. So one of the things that you might notice if you have a bunch of terminals, or not terminal, but like PowerShell or command prompt screens opened up and you're running a complicated build, it takes a long time. So Scott Hansen was saying just minimize your, bring it down to as small as you can and come back and it'll run faster. But that's not going to be the case with Windows Terminal, which is really cool that they're building that. All right, so we got our new branch set up. So let me just reload everything here. All right. So first things first, I am going to create a new project to contain our new module pipelines in it. So let's go click new project. And I'm going to create it as a .NET standard. All of this, the new stuff that I'm doing for DNN, I'm trying to create them in .NET standard projects. Whether I target Net 4.7.2 or actually make it a .NET standard compliant project, I'm doing this because as we get closer to .NET Core, I want to have as few dependencies on the old style of project, so it makes it easier to make that transition. So we're going to call this module pipeline. DotNetNuke.module pipeline. It's a .NET Standard class library. It's in the right folder. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is let's go and find, it's called the module control factory. So here it is. Let's close all but this. So this is the file that I want to move. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to copy the entire file, or the class part of it. And we're going to create a new file called module control factory. Do I want it to live in a separate? No, that's fine. So we'll create a new class, call it module control factory. Module control factory. And I'm really just going to paste it in here. And I'm just going to head back over there and grab all my using statements. And bring those over here. And perfect. So right off the bat, I'm going to need, this is from System Web. These are from DotNetNuke library, and these are from DotNetNuke library. This is from the instrumentation projects. We'll need to include those. But as I was saying earlier, you see we got this framework, we got entities, we got services. Those should all be in their own libraries, and that would kind of remove the spider web of dependencies that we have. And the thing that I find really fascinating about .NET Nuke, because a lot of people ask me, well, why do you still do .NET Nuke? Isn't that stuff old? This is enterprise. This is what enterprise developers are doing. They're dealing with these projects that have been around for 10, 15 years that they still need to maintain, that are still on web forms. And now, at Build the other day with the .NET 5 announcement, they were very clear. Web forms is not going forward. And how do you do that? How do you migrate it? And so this is why this stuff is really fascinating to me. This is great practice and great use cases of migrating stuff to .NET Core. All right, so we said we want library and we want instrumentation. So let's add those in. Perfect. I'm gonna go and edit the project by hand now. I'm gonna change this to be net 472. And we'll keep .NET Standard in there because I really want to force us to do towards .NET Standard stuff. Well, we can reload the project. That's fine. All right, and I want to add in a reference to system.web, and I keep forgetting the syntax for not all the syntax. So what I've been doing is I've just been editing it manually because I've been playing around with these a lot recently. So I'm going to do a different item group, and we're going to say reference include equals system web. I know it works. I've written this 100 times in the past couple days, but I want to go and figure out a conditional. So it's like csproj conditional. You see, it's already it remembers because I've done this like 100 times. I keep forgetting the syntax. You like to put like condition, space, something, target framework. Yeah, something like this. We're just going to copy this one and I'm going to change it around a little bit. I'm just like everyone else. I just look it up. I have no idea how I don't remember this syntax. So we're going to say net 472. So that's good. And then in our module control factory, I'm going to say, well, let me just oops, wrong file. Let's go over to our new module control factory. It's this one right here, right? All right. And maybe I need to try running the build for it, but I know the build's not going to work. I'm going to take our system.web dependency, move it over here, and I'm going to drop it inside of a compiler directive. And we're going to say if net 472 and if, and I am going to do the same thing here. We're going to say if net 472, and this is where you're all going to hate me what I'm doing. I'm putting all of our code inside this compiler directive, and the only reason why I'm even doing a multi-target is eventually this code is going to go away, and I want it to be a reminder to us as we make changes in here that we need to make sure that we get to .NET 4. We get off of .NET Framework and we get onto .NET Core. So there's that. If I do .NET Standard, should be .NET 4.7.2. I think I got that right. All right. So let's try running a build here. It's probably going to yell at me. I might need to reload the solution. Running all sorts of problems with when I was doing this the other day. Of course. Doesn't have a target. Of course. Problems. Let's just close our solution. When all else fails, close and reopen. I mean, I'm still on Visual Studio 2017. Problems. This looks more promising, maybe? Maybe? Yeah, more promising. So I go to .NET Standard. I don't know. Let's the little question mark went away. There was a question mark over here, which reminded me I forgot to increase my font size here, which I like to do. So all my friends in the back can read it, unless you're on some super big monitor, but that's not everyone. I like 16. 16 is a good number. Yeah. Now we can all see that in the back. But what was hard to see was this used to have a little yellow thing on it and it doesn't anymore, so I think everything got fixed there. Let's see if it builds. So we moved the module control factory over. Could not be found. Let's see UI modules, because we changed the namespaces around slightly. So that should fix it. Let's see. It's building. Look at the output. Building. Sip of water. Build succeeded. Perfect. So let me reorganize my usings now. Remove and sort usings. Sure, something like that. Okay. So I'm just going to scan through this. So that can be shared code. Everything in the iModule control factory. Let's see. Actually, no, because iModule control factory uses system.web, so all that code needs to be in there, which stinks. I have another pull request I'm going to work on later, not today, but sometime where I want to extract the module control factory to be very different. But that's not something I can get into this next change. Okay, so That's all good. Let me go and select the things that I want to go check in now. You can undo those. And module pipeline. This is one, right? Stage. And I want my solution file. And I'm going to say created module pipeline to contain the module control factory that that's the word I'm looking for. Initializes the different module patterns. Okay, we'll commit that. Like my commits to be secure. Comes from me. Alright, so that's all. That's cool. Before we go any further, I want to make sure my DNN website's actually working. So I'm just going to run a build solution. Probably going to take a minute to run. So all we've done is kind of set up the framework for what we need to do. So couple steps we got to go through next. Got to deprecate. We have a deprecation policy with DNN. So let me go see if I can find it. Spinning wheel. There's a README in here somewhere about APIs and versioning. I think it's in a versioning policy. Yeah, let's go check out the versioning policy. Yeah, so there's this fancy deprecation policy. So if an API is deprecated in 9.x, it can be removed in 11. Okay, so we'll just like throw something like that over it. There was some text in the issue. Build failed, but that's okay. Yes, that's okay because it's all website code, which is fine. So I should be able to go to platform.dnndev, and my DNN website should still be working. Fingers crossed. Super nervous that it's not going to work. Tension's killing me. Wish I had one of those funny sound effects that everyone else has to play. First load of these websites always take a while to open. And still waiting. Only freaking out slightly because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of reconfiguring my website. Looks good. Whew. Sweating bullets here. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to do with that build, when I'm running the build solution here, is to make sure that all of my assemblies are copied over, which is good. So let's, now that we have that working, let's go deprecate some things, because I don't want them there anymore. So we're going to come in here, we're going to look for our module control factory, and if we go back to the GitHubs, our good friend Mitch gave us this awesome snippet to plug in, which just says, this implementation has moved. Easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say obsolete. This implementation has moved to module pipeline dot module control factory, scheduled for removal in 11.x. And one of the reasons why it's okay for us to do this in a 9x is, why is that private? I just realized that's private. It's being used. That's so weird. Oh, there's the public one. no one really should be using this API. This is really an internal API. But we're still going to market it for deprecation. So if someone, for some reason, rolled their own module pipeline, they'll know the same code is still available. They just have to go and use it. And the same code is still available until, what was it, 11x. Okay, so we marked these APIs for deprecation. So we have this one here, this one here, this one here, and it's all doing the same thing. So that's private, so we don't really deprecate it anyways. Because, yeah, that way it shows up deprecated right there. That's fine. Okay, so save that. Make sure the .NET library still builds. Build. Oh, build succeeded. Perfect. So now I'm going to come in here and we're going to say stage marked the old module control factory for deprecation. Commit. Easy. Alright. So now that part's done. Now I can go find all the references to this. And instead of going to module control factor, I'm going to type in module pipeline. Now it's not going to let me do it that way. Let's see if I come up here to the using statements. UI. I should just be able to do using .NETNuke. Oh. Might be helpful if I include reference to our new project. That's what I forgot to do. What I call it, module pipeline. Module pipeline. Okay. Oh no, because it'd create a circular dependency. This is what we were trying to prevent. Oh, you know what I did? I did something silly, because I wasn't paying attention earlier. This isn't supposed to be here. That's gone. But now, all of that stuff is not going to work. How did I do this earlier? I promise you, I had this working earlier today. I was just writing the code a little bit cleaner than I did. So, module pipeline. Oh, good thing I have it on Git in another branch I can just go look at. I believe I pushed that up. Let's see what I did. Put it under pipeline. Yeah, that all makes sense. Then what did I do in .NETNuke library? Hmm. Okay. Let's go take a look here. So this is used in module host. So let's go there. It's UI modules. Let's look for our module control factory. Maybe I thought I had it working and I didn't. Uh-oh. Now I gotta figure out how to make this work. Okay, well, that's fine. I just gotta figure it out. No problem. No cheat codes anymore. Alright, so we have our module control factory, and I don't want it to reference the other library at all. So the way that we can do that, so let's analyze our code a little bit. What we have on the screen is important. Everything else, I care less about. So maybe what we do is we create a new class, and I'm going to call this the module control pipeline. I like the word pipeline better. And we're going to create it as a static class for now. Module control factory, though, would be the return type, and this is where our .NETNuke library dependency comes in. But these are all just control. This is the problem. Let's remember that. This is the problem. So I can get this to return control, no problem, because that's system.web. That's fine. But module info comes from .NETNuke library. So I need to figure out a way to write this same code. What if our control factory had like an interface? It didn't really do anything. Call it like a module control pipeline. That's not really a pipeline anymore. Call it I'm gonna call it all module control factory base for now. I don't like using the word base ever, but I'm just gonna do that for now. I'm gonna rename it in a bit because I want to try something. So if I did I module control factory base here, then I can come in here, remove these two dependencies, and this could be base. That's fine. Don't care about that. That could be base. iModule control comes from .NetNuke library. I had this figured out the other day, earlier today. I want to look at that code one more time. So if I compare this one, so this is our pipeline project there. It references .NetNuke library. So yeah, I made a whoops earlier today. The only way I'm really going to be able to do this then is, I'm going to call it the, created a new class, right? Module control pipeline. I'm just going to copy this private method into there. We're going to make this public. Make it static. Web forms module control. Where does that one come from? That's probably in .NetNuke library. Yes, it is. So maybe what we do is, if there is nothing here, maybe I try and leverage that pipeline code this way, and I'll say, oh, I think I figured out how I can make this work. Okay, so we got this pipeline code right here, right? So I'll say get module factory control source, got the extension. So what I'm going to say is extension. So I'm going to say get module factory control. Don't need the, we can verify that it's lower, so I can do like, just do it right here, it's fine. Too lower invariant. Don't care about these. And then we'll just use reflection for now. I'm going to clean that up in a minute. Will it even let me do that? No, it won't. And then we do reflected. That comes from library as well. What does this one even do? Query control module configuration. I don't know what that one does. Yeah, we'll comment this out. I don't care about that. And that would return a control factor, so I can do module control pipeline. All right. Stay with me here. I know I'm all over the place, like bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say control factory equals module control pipeline dot get control factory, and I'm going to pass in the extension, and then I'm going to break. It's yelling at me. It's fine that it's yelling at me. I don't care that it's yelling at me. Let me just validate that I removed not system.web, .NetNuke library. No .NetNuke library. We're good. And now this guy can come here, add a reference to our module pipeline. And it's not going to yell at me. Didn't yell at me. That's good. We're almost there. Now what is it yelling at me about? It's saying that control factory we didn't do it here either. Yes. Perfect. So can I implicitly convert this guy to that guy? But if I say base, I can. And control factory is base. Maybe what I do, because I can't convert the base class to the top level like that. But what I could do is I could add a T in and say where T is iModule factory base, and that should be implied. This needs to be default T. So it's saying control cannot implicitly convert this to control factory. I could just cast it. Can I convert web forms to type T? Why not? Well, we'll go back to the original approach. So this is going to be iModule control factory base. So it's equal to null. And if this is iModule control factory, and I can do iModule control factory alright, I wanted to say if it's that on control factory else null. It's going to have something for me. It's got to have something for me to simplify this. Guess not. So now I should be able to remove all of that. Because you could pass a T. I might come back to trying that generic approach because that should work if I had, because I had the where statement down there because I was saying like T, where T is, iModule control factory base. So anything that's T is going to at least be at that level. See, and it goes null. I don't have too much time to mess around with that, so I might need to play with that later. So And this is an easier bullet to bite. So that works, I think. And then we can just go into the pipeline, and then the pipeline handles everything from there. So this can have a reference to the other projects. So we'll just add reference to, what is it, WebMVC, web.razor. Because both of these projects reference library. And since library references this guy, if we reference that, that would create a loop, wouldn't it? This makes me so angry. Alright. Let's take a look at how this class is being used again. Maybe something will jump out at me. So the module control factory is put into this control object here. Control is just control. It's a sealed class. Let's see. So I don't want my module pipeline class to. If my module pipeline class references .NET, that's okay. But my ucast. Let me allow message. Yeah, I was trying the as statement, and that didn't seem to work. And I might look at that off stream because I only got so much time today to play with this. But I'm thinking. So I'm going back to the idea of I want to try and move all of my code out of the library project because my pipelines can reference MVC, any of the module pipeline projects. Those projects have to reference .NETNuke library to get access to those APIs. So this project here cannot reference the module pipeline. So I need to figure out. And thanks, Archie. Thanks for all the advice in the chat. It is helpful. Maybe if I could find the entry point here. Cached. Load module control. Create childs. We're still in library. This is used all over library. See, this is where I wanted to throw my computer out the window the other day. just because I move the code over to the pipelines project doesn't mean that I remove that dependency. I mean, well, uh, so maybe tough problems. You see, this is why I like DotNetNuke. They have these really hard, annoying problems that makes me want to throw computers out the window. So if the module pipeline references library, it can reference web, MVC, WebRazor, but then library can't reference module pipeline, and library is our entry point. So library needs to reference module pipeline. Module pipeline doesn't want to reference library. And library has all of our entry points. What's going on, Dave? Thanks for joining the stream. We're just trying to figure out how to fix our circular dependencies in DotNetNuke. And it's making me angry, very angry. So the problem is we are trying to create this module pipeline assembly that allows us to directly reference WebMVC, WebRazor, and the new Razor Pages module pipeline, which is fine. And we're doing that because MVC and Razor both reference .NET library, which makes sense. But the module pipeline is invoked in library, so that would mean that library would need, that module pipeline would need to reference library, but then to start the module pipeline, library would need to call module pipeline, which creates a circle. A circle causes problems. I don't want to use reflection. So I wonder if I still, nope, because I built it. The code's not there anymore. It's gone. Code's gone. Because this is going to have our entry point into the app. This got me so angry. I don't know how to fix it. Freaking out here. Because I want this to be somewhere else. The control factory.load module. Because this project has a reference to .NET and this project has a reference to .NET I wonder, can I use a shared project? It's kind of cheating. Oh, looks like I can. It's totally cheating, but it might work. Because a shared project doesn't necessarily create an assembly, it just isolates your code. So I could create this as a shared project and then isolate that over, but then we still run into the same problem with the MVC project and the Razor project have a hard reference to the library. It's all because we created that hard reference there. And I suppose if it changed it on me. Suppose if I took the web MVC project, converted that to a shared project, converted the Razor project to a shared project, then we wouldn't have any of these problems. It would be more or less taking both those entire projects and including them in the .NET library, which I don't know if that's what we want to do. Tune in today, listen to me think out loud for 30 minutes. Only if this was the entry point instead of this. That would make it easier. Uh, hmm. I mean, if I go down my original approach, so the problem is this gets invoked, could get invoked hundreds of times in a single request if there's 100 modules on the page. So what if we still use reflection in the library project, but we cached our instance of the object? Like, okay, so we got this I module control factory, right? And we got that other thing there, which I don't really care about. But so there's this module control factory here, which what if yeah, I mean it's dumb. It's so dumb. I am really pushing hard right now to rip the guts out of the .NetNuke library project, but every time I start dabbling down this road, it's this is spider web. Yes, the technical debt we have in this project. And so I keep talking enterprise, and what I've done in enterprise is we just said let's do it. Let's make the break, but we can't do that in DNN because we don't have a migration path. Then we need to make sure we keep a good migration path. All right, so let's try this. So we got this module control factory, right? What if we created over in our what if we went down that original approach that we had? So for let's go down the original approach. So let me add the reference back to .NETNuke library. Now I gotta remove the thing. .NETNuke module pipeline. That's gone. Let's come down to the module pipeline. And we said, I want library. Yeah, give me the library. Give me the instruments. I want those too. Yeah. So this all works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that so let's say we created like an I module control, a true I module control factory. that had, I'm going to call it the I module control pipeline. Because the semantics in this project are kind of frustrating. Because they have an I module control factory. They also have a module control factory, and they're not used together at all. Or the way that you would expect an interface and a concrete class to work. So if we had this, remember, we got to remember that DotNetNuke library cannot reference anything in this, right? But I could. Oh, that is the same, isn't it? So annoying and frustrating on so many levels. Like I can't even. Alright. Let's stop getting frustrated and let's write some code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into an interface. So let's do that one. We're going to do this one. Semicolon. So load module. That was load module control. Load setting control. Load setting control, semicolon. Perfect, right? That's it. I think. Load module control, module control. Let's scroll back down. Settings control. Is there one more? There's this one here. And that one there. Okay, so let's copy these guys over. I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be what I need to do. Let's get rid of that. That's gone. That's gone. Okay. So this implements that. This is still in our module pipeline, right? We're going to get rid of the statics from each one of these. Nothing static. We can leave the logger as static. That's fine. So we'll remove all of those. Perfect. iModule. Okay. So we got the control pipeline. This is not going to be a base anymore. Where's that? Let's see. Get rid of you. Don't need you there. And let's come back to our module control factory. Let me just undo the changes on this file. It's that. So our we called it our module control factory here. We had some red lines down here. So get module control factory. There. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this dumb interface that I created. You should never have created it. So now we have this pipeline code that I don't need. Just we can move the interface over to there. So pull that out. rename that with an I in front of it. Yeah. Oops. Right? That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Using system.web, .NetNuke, garbage. Since this is using system.web, we're going to throw all of this around our if net 472 and if, and then we're going to do the same thing for all of our actual items in here. So we're going to say if net 472 and if, there we go. Okay. So that's all squared away. Looking back here at our module control factory, that looks good. So now, if we look at the original module control factory, this is really used in two places, in skin and module host. So I'm thinking I'm going to create a read-only property at the top here. It's really going to be private. Oh, we're going to say, oh, like private read-only, call it static. Read-only, and I'm going to call it module pipeline. Module pipeline. And it is going to be of type I module control pipeline. And I know that's living in the other assembly right now, but that's okay, because we're going to bring it right in here. So under .NETNuke libraries, under UI modules, we have the module control factory here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new class in here. Call it I module control pipeline. And if we head back over here, I can just copy this over. Public interface. Make sure we get our using statements in. So I should now be able to delete this pipeline interface. And this will still work because now it's referencing that. And then under module host, that's there. So we're getting warmer. And what I want this to do is we're going to have like a so we'll do like I module control pipeline, and I'm going to call it module control pipeline. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that we only access it through this property here. We'll say get if module control pipeline is not equal to null. Return module control pipeline. Else we can do module control pipeline equals reflection, because we use it everywhere. Create instance. All right, is this what I want? Let me look at the. No, that's an activator. That requires a type. How did we do it? How did they do it? We're just going to follow the same way that we've been doing stuff here. So we'll say pipeline type equals this. We're going to say .NETNuke dot module pipeline dot module control factory. And then what we're going to say is our pipeline is equal to create this object, pipeline type as I module control factory pipeline. And we'll just set all of that to this right here. And what is it yelling at me for? Return module pipeline. Perfect. This thing is ambiguous between framework and DotNetNuke framework is what I want. Let's say see, we use reflection so much in DotNetNuke that we created our own reflection library that wraps the C# reflection library. Oh. So if we did that, all of that, which is good, that will now create a module pipeline object, which I can use. And module pipeline will be swapped out here. All right? Can I do that? Oh, maybe I just did it here first. What class was I just in? I was in this class. So I'm in module host, right? I got module pipeline. It's private right there. Yeah. It's sealed, so no need to make that protected. Module control factory. Save this. There it is. Perfect. That's what I want. Green squigglies are going away. Bye-bye, squigglies. Bye-bye. So that was under module host. So now there should only be one usage left, and that's here under the skin. And for simplicity, I am going to go back up here and copy this code over. I might actually create a separate singleton object to handle this later, but this we'll have under private members. We're going to do the same thing. And then I'm going to go here. We're going to change this to module pipeline. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. All right. So, and that would be as I profile module. So now, it's not the cleanest thing here, but the importance here is this will increase, this will still be a significant improvement in DNN module loading performance, even though we're still using reflection here. And I gotta talk with a couple people about the performance implications of this and everything. But that should all still do lots of good things. And then I can come over here now, and this should now be able to reference web at MVC, web razor. Okay. Control factory equals new razor module control factory. Oh, that's a beautiful thing right there. This is my favorite part, the end. What's the squigglies? Oh, yeah, but we deprecated that module, so of course it's going to give me squigglies underneath it. MVC module control factory. See, this is easy. This is strongly typed. Everything can get cached properly in the runtime. We don't need to rip. So we're going to cache the module control factory to allow us to quickly call the different module pipelines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this builds, and then we'll test it. If it works or doesn't, I do have to get going. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with me today. Stuff that I was expecting to work didn't work. Website. That's fine. One failed. Reference type control claims it is defined in system web but could not be found. Oh yeah, that's a problem. Let's fix that. It's breaking because the interface as system.web, but it's not available in net standard. So we just drop this into a new line like so. That'll build now. Oops. Gotta say if. There we go. Rebuild. Yeah, stuff that I thought would work but didn't work. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I had to say that. Alright, so that built. I didn't finish updating the build stuff for this, the local build, so I'm just going to grab the assemblies manually. I want the net 472, and I'm going to copy over these two guys, because everything else should be there. And then we'll go to a website, go to bin, paste these in, perfect. And if we come over here to my local version of DNN running 9.4's alpha build, alright, so that worked, or hasn't worked yet, and I'm hoping that everything continues to work. The tension's always killing me with how long this little spinning wheel goes. It's spinning around. It shouldn't break because we're on the home page, but since we butchered our module loading pipeline, anything's possible. Anything is possible. Come on. No, you want to, computer. All those assemblies are indeed. Oh, good. Okay, so here's a moment of truth. Breakpoints. Let's breakpoint it. Alright, so I'm attached. Attaching. I hope. There we go. We got a solid breakpoint, solid red. Nothing is impossible. That's right. Let's get it working. Hit the sandbox button. I got a module on that page. This breakpoint should hit any second now. Look at that. Oh my. We are here. We are in module pipeline code. Our control source. Yeah, it's a CSHTML file. It's not using Razor Pages. It's using this cool thing that actually was really never intended to be used, but I digress. So now I come down here and I just new it up. Boom, done. F5. I got breakpoints set all over the place, so let's get rid of some of these. Works on the first try. Hello, world. Woo! I need sound effects, but I don't have any, so you get to hear me clap to myself. Alright, so that's... I have a headache just thinking about some of this code, but that works. Big problem with it still is how we're loading this. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm not doing it right now. I'm done streaming for the day. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go lift and try and stay in shape. But the next steps are I want to figure out what our options are for this. You know, I think this is okay, but what I think the next step's going to be is let's really do some work with this module pipeline code. Let's make it a singleton instead of just like it is kind of a singleton, but it's an instant singleton. I want to make it a library, like a completely static singleton inside the entire library, so it can be used in both the skin and the module host project or files here. And all we have to do is module pipeline.instance. I want to make a thread safe as well, which and I think once I do that, that'd be gold. So let me go commit these changes. What are we? We're in module pipeline. So I'm gonna say stage that. I made some changes to the library itself. Stage that. And then what I'm going to say is created new interface to contain good new interface module control pipeline updated instantiation of the pipeline to be a singleton in the core library. This reduces reflection calls, and the new module pipeline can correctly reference the different module platforms, which increases performance. Alright, so let me commit those changes. Committed. And I'm in this branch here, so I'm going to say push that up to my fork. And we'll head over to my fork. Alright. That's not my fork. That looks nothing like my fork. But this is my fork. So if you're interested in looking at the code that I did, I'm going to drop it in the chat. If you are interested, I am very curious in any type of performance testing and metrics. So if anyone is able to run metrics on that fork at all, if they're able to, if they're feeling like helping me out with this, I would greatly appreciate that. Let me update my screen here. There we go. Yeah, I'd greatly appreciate that if you want to do that and you want to help me out. But there's just a couple more changes I'm going to do to this before I submit the pull request. But I think this will be a good performance improvement because we're really reducing the number of reflection calls that we're going to be making with the platform. So I got some work to do with this, but this is all the time I have for today. So this was a shorter one for me. Thanks everyone for coming out, hanging out, giving me some advice in the chat. I'll see everyone next time, which should be on Monday, but my schedule has been all over the place, so I've been streaming when I can, so it hasn't been in my normal time. But until next time, I'll see everyone around. Make sure that you guys are checking out the Microsoft Build stream. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on at Microsoft Build. I'm not in Washington, and I'm still keeping up to date on stuff. So it's really cool to see all the new announcements coming out. But See everyone next time. Thanks again for coming out. Bye.